It's well known that when penning the script for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, writer and producer Colin Trevorrow, working with Derek Connolly, went back to the source material to bring the characters to life, namely Ian Malcolm, who bookends the movie, warning about irreversible change at the beginning and then commenting on how change is unavoidable at the end. During the opening scene with Malcolm, he says the following:
I'm talking about man-made cataclysmic change.
What kind of change?
Change is like death. You don't know what it looks like until you're standing at the gates.
And here are the parts from the original book itself. So what will happen? Malcolm shrugged. A change. What kind of change? All major changes are like death, he said. You can't see the other side until you are there. Now take note of the changes between the lines, all major changes are like death, you can't see the other side until you are there, from the book to the movie version. Change is like death, you don't know what it looks like until you're standing at the gates. This is the reason for this video, to shine a light on why the idea of gates represent change in the movie. It was something highlighted to me in the comments of my previous Fallen Kingdom analysis video, so thank you Carlos. If you wish to watch that video, a link is in the description below. So I've gone through the movie and highlighted how many motifs of gates or doorways, which operate as gateways, are used to represent change, the unknown, or even the afterlife itself, to show how this movie that's all about an epic grand change in the Jurassic Park lore to the status quo of dinosaurs being on the islands was being visually told through these motifs. So let's dive right in. At the very start of the film, we see a submarine emerging from the darkness, and then a huge underwater gate opens with light beaming behind it, almost as if it were the light at the end of the tunnel, which is usually associated with dying. Or perhaps one could look at this as the gates of heaven opening up, or a false heaven, given what changes to follow throughout this entire movie. These gates fail to close due to the Tyrannosaur stomping on the gizmo which is sending the signal for the gates to shut, and this is where the change occurs, because the Mosasaurus escapes into the open oceans. Not long after this, the elevator doors at the Dinosaur Protection Group offices also open in a way to reveal the change in the character of protagonist Claire. They fail to fully open, indicating a lack of funding for a posh office compared to how smoothly this sophisticated elevator doors opened when she worked at the corporate level of Jurassic World.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
Here she is an activist, fighting for a cause she's passionate about, but as we see in the movie, there is a debate around the issue of saving the dinosaurs, so her new grassroots organisation isn't exactly drowning in funding. But the rickety old doors basically show the progression of her character from the previous movie. When we enter Lockwood Manor in the story, we see a model of Jurassic Park, and it's shown very close up. The camera pans down to focus on a little mock-up of the original gates. Now I'm not sure if this one was intentional, but I do find it very interesting that the tour car itself is facing away from the dinosaurs, going through the open gates. And the dinosaurs are not caged. It's almost like a visual metaphor for Jurassic Park leading to the dinosaurs going global, the gate being a symbol of the change Malcolm suggested earlier. There is a nice little moment when we see the destroyed gates of Jurassic World when the characters are on their way to the island. Plant life growing all over it, nature is taking over. Again, whether intentional or not, I think one can look at this derailed train as a kind of visual metaphor for the humans trying to escape this new Jurassic World, only to fail after passing through and becoming engulfed by nature, which is basically what's going to happen at the end of this movie. Once they are on the ground, they enter these trucks and they go through this kind of airlock gate system, which I think represents the change in the park we're about to see. Owen and Claire especially seem interested in looking at what has happened to the park since they left. Wheatley even draws attention to this.
Bad memories. Some are good.
There's also a nice shot of sunlight beaming through the gate as it opens, which again leans into the "change is like death" quote by Malcolm, giving it a sort of heavenly appearance. But the gate itself is a clunky man-made gate, and not really the golden pearly gates often described when people enter heaven. Again, like the opening with the gates opening underwater, this change isn't a good one. It might seem like a heavenly place beyond, but really it's not. There's a brief shot where the back doors of the truck open and Wheatley emerges, immediately yelling.
Okay, let's go.
I think this could be looked at as a visual cue to Wheatley's thoughts on the change their actions may cause. He doesn't care about it. He thinks he's above any fallout their actions may take, so he just jumps through these doors or gates yelling, "Let's go." Now I wanted to draw attention to this one, and there are a few more that are kind of like this, where the camera is placed right on the doors as they open or shut, so I think it's no mistake that this is meant to be linked to the whole gate motif, because they shove it right front and centre. Shortly after that, once Franklin hacks into the bunker's control system, we get a foreboding shot of the doors opening to reveal Claire looking cautiously into the dark, signifying that currently they are standing in the light and beyond the gates is only darkness. A moment of change happens when Claire and Franklin realise that Wheatley's team have betrayed them, and this is done through the closing of the bunker doors, locking them inside. There's even a nice shot of Claire running towards the camera as the doors close on either side of the frame, with her yelling. Almost like she's realised she's now trapped in some kind of hell. We then see Franklin hacking into the systems once again to open a doorway to escape, but by doing so they immediately let in a ferocious baryonyx. It's like they can't undo the change that has already happened and must adapt to it. The baryonyx is actually first seen via a light at the end of the tunnel, again linking back to Malcolm's line equating change to the experience of death. But instead of this tunnel having a good thing at the end of it, it's more like a tunnel to hell, with this reptilian beast or, pseudo-demon being cast with orange light from the lava. It's a very hellish visual, and I'm positive that was the intention behind it. One of the biggest moments of change in the story, which is visually rich, is the moment the Brachiosaurus is seen on the docks as they all escape the island. Here, a number of things are at play. For starters, in the story, this is the major turning point for the grand change as the dinosaurs are now taken off the island. We see Isla Nublar being engulfed in flames and lava. This previous paradise that fans have come to know and love is now being destroyed by God, as it were. And the Brachiosaurus itself is standing for air as it's taken out by the volcano, harkening back to the moment in Jurassic Park when the Brachiosaurus stood to eat leaves from the trees. And we can't go without saying the biblical connotations at play within this moment, with the play on Noah's Ark, is also a major motif around the idea of change, because the biblical story of Noah's Ark is really a story focusing on God's change of the entire world. All of this visually represents a major shift in the story, and it's all encompassed by a slow closing door at the back of the boat, which again feeds into Malcolm's line. A blink and you'll miss it moment where a gate is used to signify change is when Owen and Claire realise the dinosaurs are being taken to Lockwood's estate. We see the reflection of Gates to his home reflected on the windshield of the truck they have commandeered. It is also the moment where one of Wheatley's men spots Owen and Claire, realising that they are still alive. When the dinosaurs are being sold off at the auction in the basement, they emerge through a large set of doors that are very similar in design to the gate scene at the start of the movie, again with the visual motif of bright lights being situated beyond, as if we're staring into the afterlife as Malcolm suggested. This is most apparent with the introduction of the Indoraptor, which heavily invokes the idea of these being gates of death, when this man-made abomination, this insult to God, emerges from the gateway as we're blinded with artificial light. Pretty awesome if you ask me. When Eversole tries to escape the Indoraptor, the creature's tail slams into the controls, causing it to short-circuit and release the doors. This is one of the most stark visual representations of what Malcolm was talking about, especially when equating it to death, with Eversole staring into the open gates, as it were, looking death directly in the face. Now the most important gate motif, which the entire film has been building towards, is the one where the dinosaurs are trapped in the basement of the estate, which is slowly filling with a toxic gas, and only a single door stops them from leaving. Claire has a moment where she goes to press the release button, only to decide to let the dinosaurs die, because, as Owen reminds her, if she presses the button to free them, there is no going back. The dinosaurs will be released into the wilds of mainland America, and she sees this as morally wrong, so she doesn't press it. However, it's at this point when the character Maisie pushes the button releasing the dinosaurs. She is the unforeseen change Malcolm was warning about, driven by an affinity for the dinosaurs after learning that she is in fact a clone herself. Also take note of this shot when the camera pans over the dinosaurs running for freedom through the doorway, or gate as it were, and it cuts to Mills opening the door to his car as he looks up and realises something has changed. Just another tiny detail I think counts towards this point I'm trying to make. Now, obviously the dinosaurs being released into mainland America was a big moment of change, but it must be noted that the change had already been occurring for some time within the movie itself, with the likes of the Mosasaurus escaping into the ocean, the Stygimoloch running into the woods, and many dinosaurs, embryos and DNA being sold off and shipped out before the auction was interrupted. But this final climactic moment with the dilemma of pressing the button is really the main narrative visual crescendo to what Malcolm was stating at the beginning of the movie. All these motifs of gates and doors signifying change, the use of light to play into the idea of the afterlife, and the classic Jurassic theme of man playing God feeds into telling this story of epic change within the Jurassic Park lore. So my closing thoughts are, Fallen Kingdom is an underrated movie, and I think that it doesn't deserve the flack that it gets. I think that this film, despite having a script which on the surface appears quite simple, it actually is a very visual movie in its storytelling. It signals a lot of what's happening through just motifs like the gates opening with lights behind them and the process of change happening with those visual cues. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it sheds some light on this movie to make you like it even more. I'm actually working on a trilogy of Fallen Kingdom analysis videos. This is actually the second one, so I've only got one more to make until I find something else to talk about in Fallen Kingdom. But anyway, look forward to that in the coming future. If you like this video, please subscribe, please like, please leave a comment below. What do you think about all this? And yeah, I hope you all have a good day.